Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, so today we're taking microdosing completely out of the realm of trendy wellness hashtags and finally looking at what it actually is under a microscope. We're going to elevate our understanding of this practice, right? Moving it far away from those misunderstood buzzwords and reframing it as a grounded, scientifically backed pharmacological intervention, especially when it's deliberately paired with ceremonial cacao. Look, we need to debunk this mainstream misconception right out of the gate. A microdose is not a mood boost. It is a precise pharmacological intervention operating at the subperceptual threshold. We're talking about precision cell biology here, not chasing a temporary feeling, a high or a buzz. You know, you don't feel a microdose the way you feel a strong cup of coffee or an energy drink. The effects? They're operating silently, but super powerfully, right at the foundational level of your cellular biology and network architecture. So here's our roadmap for today. 1. Redefining the microdose. 2. Cognitive and social shifts. 3. Energy without the crash. 4. The ceremonial cacao synergy. 5. Comparing dosing protocols. And 6. The integration imperative. Let's dive in. Section 1. Redefining the microdose, the empirical threshold. So, based on James Fadiman's vast naturalistic data set, which spans thousands of documented experiences over many years, we can define the exact threshold of what makes a microdose. Well, a microdose. We're looking at a dose of 0.1 to 0.3 grams of dried psilocybin cubensis. At this exact point, there are absolutely no subjective hallucinogenic effects. Your day-to-day perception remains completely normal. But here's the magic. At this exact dosage, you maintain 5-HT2A partial agonism. Basically, the molecular machinery of your brain is highly active. It's upregulating things like BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which essentially acts as a powerful growth fertilizer for your neurons. So your conscious architecture stays unchanged. You're functioning totally normally, but underneath it all, your brain is secretly in this accelerated state of growth. Moving on to Section 2, Cognitive and Social Shifts, the Measurable Outcomes. When you actually look at the measurable data, the numbers are just striking. A 2018 study at Leiden University observed a 25% improvement in divergent thinking. Now, divergent thinking is your brain's capacity to generate novel, out-of-the-box, creative solutions to a single complex problem. And this happens because the compounds actively reduce the constraint of your brain's default mode network. Think of the default mode network as your brain's autopilot. It keeps you stuck in those rigid, habitual thinking ruts. When you quiet that network down, your brain literally becomes more flexible. You start connecting dots you wouldn't normally see. And the benefits extend way beyond solitary problem solving and deep work. Check this out. 67% of participants in a 2019 longitudinal study reported significantly improved interpersonal relationships. This is firmly rooted in that 5-HT2A receptor engagement we just talked about, specifically taking place in the regions of your brain that mediate emotional empathy and social cognition. In the real world, this translates to profound shifts. It's the difference between snapping defensively during a heated argument versus, taking a breath and truly practicing active listening. You are biologically primed to connect better, be more present, and just empathize deeply with the people around you. Section 3. Energy without the crash, the pharmacological mechanics. Let's compare. Conventional stimulants like caffeine or amphetamines merely hide exhaustion. They block adenosine, which is the chemical telling your brain it's tired, or they forcefully deplete your dopamine reserves. Basically, you're borrowing your neurochemistry from tomorrow, leaving you with a massive deficit that eventually causes that dreaded afternoon crash. We've all been there. Subperceptual psilocybin, however, relies entirely on cellular adaptation. It's actively building neurological infrastructure. Because of this, there's no physiological debt accumulation, no catecholamine depletion, meaning you aren't draining your brain's vital, natural neurotransmitter reserves. So ultimately, there is no crash. You're generating actual, sustainable energy through neurogenesis. So, if subperceptual psilocybin is so remarkably effective on its own for cognitive flexibility and sustained energy, we have to ask a really important question here. Where does ceremonial cacao fit into a daily stack, and why is it considered so absolutely crucial? Which brings us to Section 4, the ceremonial cacao synergy, the secondary pharmacological agent. Listen, cacao is not a flavor additive. It's not just a cozy hot chocolate to make the protocol more palatable. It's actually a highly specific secondary pharmacological agent that addresses the exact physiological gaps left by psilocybin across 3 vital domains. First up, vascular support. Creating new neural pathways, synaptogenesis, is a wildly metabolically expensive process. Cacao provides theobromine, which induces vasodilation. It actively expands your blood vessels, literally feeding your brain more blood and oxygen to power that growth. Second, anandamide modulation. Anandamide is famously known as the bliss molecule, right? It's crucial for emotional regulation. Cacao contains FAH inhibitors, which stop the breakdown of anandamide, effectively buffering your endocannabinoid system and managing any emotional volatility that might pop up during neuroplasticity. And third, BDNF amplification. The epicatechins in cacao act to deepen and prolong the neuroplasticity window by amplifying and sustaining your brain's BDNF expression throughout your entire dosing cycle. To put that in perspective, an 18% increase in serum BDNF is not trivial at all. A controlled human trial measured this exact increase after 4 weeks of daily cocoflavanol supplementation. This fundamentally proves that cacao acts as a powerful independent amplifier. It compounds the psilocybin signal entirely on its own, providing the exact neurological infrastructure and structural support you're trying to build. Section 5. Comparing dosing protocols, Photomin versus Stamets. Now, whether you utilize the simpler, steady rhythm of the Photomin protocol, which involves a dose day, a transition day, and a rest day, or you opt for the more intensive Stamets stack, the underlying pharmacology dictates a strict set of rules. The Stamets approach famously involves 4 consecutive days on, followed by 3 days off, while stacking the psilocybin with lion's mane mushroom for compounding nerve growth, and niacin to basically drive those compounds deep into the peripheral nervous system. But despite these differences in frequency and ingredients, both architectures share one absolute, non-negotiable rule: vital rest days. These are literally required to allow for a 48 to 72-hour clearance, making sure your 5-HT2A receptors do not become downregulated or desensitized to the compounds. It helps to think of it like this. The psilocybin is the master architect that comes in to draw the new blueprints, and the daily ceremonial cacao is the reliable construction crew that stays on site all week to actually build the pathways. While psilocybin absolutely mandates those days off to prevent tolerance, ceremonial cacao is consumed every single day. A standard architecture involves 20 to 30 grams of cacao on your dose days and 15 to 20 grams on those transition and rest days. This deliberate maintenance strategy is exactly what keeps your BDNF expression elevated and your blood flow optimized, all while the brain actively integrates the structural changes you initiated on dose day. The architect takes a break, but the construction crew goes right to work. And finally, Section 6, the integration imperative, infrastructure versus content. The protocol is infrastructure. The compounds open the window. You decide what comes through it. Look, this entire explainer has been about advanced biology, cellular adaptation, and pharmacology. But at the end of the day, biology is just a tool. This synergistic stack gives you the absolute optimal neurological environment. It fertilizes the brain, it increases blood flow, and it dramatically enhances your mental flexibility. But it cannot do the actual work for you. So the ultimate question isn't just about grams or schedules or neurochemistry. It's this. Once that window of neuroplasticity is wide open, what deliberate practices, what entirely new habits, and what kind of life are you going to choose to build?